Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. I've got my mate Paul with me this morning on his 450 Himalayan. He's only had it, what, about 8 weeks now?
Something like that, yeah.
8 weeks. And I've got my 411 Himalayan. So we're going to do not a review, but just an overview of the differences between the two bikes. We're going to go for a ride out on our bikes, and then we're going to swap over. And then once we finish that, we'll come back here and we'll do a little shutdown assessment of what we felt about the differences between the two bikes. And thanks very much indeed. We'll see you soon when we're on the bikes. Talk to you. Welcome back. So here we are on the bikes. You can see Paul in front of me there on his 450 Himalayan, and I'm following him at this stage on the 411 Himalayan. We'll do a tour, a route that Paul's got planned for us, taking in some fast roads, some slow roads, some twisties, etc. And then we'll do a changeover. Swap over the bikes. Paul will take a ride on my 411 and I'll ride his 450, and then we'll do a little assessment at the end, just a little chat to see what we thought about the difference in the two bikes, and hopefully that'll be interesting for you guys, the chaps that are thinking about buying the 411 or thinking about buying the 450, and you can see what we thought of those two bikes before you go out and buy the bikes. So on the 411, which I'm riding now, I've got a performance mod on the drivetrain, where I've changed the front sprocket to a 16 tooth, the chain at the same time. What Paul's doing is he's getting his bike up to 70 mile an hour, and I'm trying to keep up with him. So at the moment, according to my sat-nav, I'm doing 66 mile an hour, and I've got this at full throttle. So this 68 mile an hour downhill, really coping that well. 70 mile an hour, and that's about tops, I reckon. Yeah, one of the obvious limitations of the 411 24 brake horsepower motor is the top end speed. So you've got to decide what type of riding you're going to be doing on the bike before you make the choice to buy the 411 or the 450. Myself, I do mainly short rides, and I mainly tour on smaller A roads and B roads, so I don't need that high speed. I don't do motorways if I can help it, and so I don't really need that 80 mile an hour, 70, 80 mile an hour. It is, obviously it is nice to have, but the 411 I would suggest doesn't have it. Whereas quite clearly you could see from the 450 ahead of us, there wasn't a problem, get it up to 70, 80. But we're going to carry on Paul's route and see how the two bikes handle the rest of it, which is going to be, I assume, a bit of this traffic riding and a bit of the B road riding, and we'll see how the two bikes handle there. Obviously, I can give you my assessment of the bike and how I feel about riding this bike, as well as when I get onto Paul's 450, what I feel about the differences in the riding styles or the riding positions or the handling, the geometry of the bikes. But quite clearly, you obviously would have to have a test ride on it yourself to see what you think of it before you made that decision. It's the engine. The differences are not only in the cc and the brake horsepower, but the power band or the power range on the bikes is different in the way the power comes in at different times. With the 450, to get a smooth ride out of the bike, it's advisable to keep it above 4,000 RPM. And with the 411, the power is there right from the bottom. It's not got as much power, quite clearly. It's got a lot of low down power. A lot of people have described it as a tractor. It's got a lot of low down power. I haven't long this performance mod, changing the front sprocket on the bike. Probably only been riding it a week or so with this on, and I can feel a major difference. I honestly can feel a major difference. Then it reminded me when we were coming up that little piece of road, I was in fourth gear, sitting at 40, 45, almost 50 mile an hour, and then I realized I still got another gear ahead of me, whereas before I would have been sitting at, I wouldn't have got to 40 mile an hour without changing into fifth gear. And then when I get above the sort of 45, 50 mark, then it would tend to run out of legs, because you feel like you revving it. So let's see how we do now. So we're at 50 mile an hour, still pulling strong. Change up to fifth gear, going up to 60 mile an hour. No, we're uphill, and we got it flat out. Does tend to run out of power a little bit at the top end there. It's not going to get to 70 mile an hour too easy, but like I say, I'm not too worried about that. In the type of riding I do with the bike, it doesn't really worry me at all. Generally, if I wasn't on this ride out with Paul, I would have been quite happy to stick at 40 mile an hour coming up that hill behind that car without having felt the need to overtake. We're sitting at 50 mile an hour now in fifth gear, and she's very happy. Very happy. 56, 57, getting up to 60 mile an hour. Very happy. Ain't got a lot left in the throttle, but it's not revving the guts out of it. I'm still sitting at under 5,000 RPM. So the bike's happy, I'm happy. So let's call it a little review on the 16.2 sprocket on the 411 Himalayan. I think it's well worth the costs and the effort of making that change. Obviously, when you make the change to a 16.2 sprocket, the OEM or the original chain is a little bit short, so you have to put a new chain on there, 112 link chain. Again, I think the overall cost of it, £100 or so, was well worth it. Really. Paul up front there on the 450, he looks very comfortable on that bike, and I think if I remember him saying he's 5'8", and he's very comfortable in the riding position on that bike. I'm 6'1", and I would say I probably just fit onto this 411. I'm quite comfortable. I've done quite long journeys on it. The saddle itself is very comfortable. The riding position, very comfortable. But it is noticeably smaller than the 450, and you'll see the difference when Paul gets onto this bike and I get onto his bike. You will have seen by the roads that we've been on there, some of the twisty roads, little B roads, bit of traffic work, and faster sections in between. It's quite clear that the 450 Himalayan is very comfortable picking up speed, but we're coming to the end of this little first section of the ride where I'm on my 411 and Paul's on his 450. Going to do a little swap over, take another ride out, very similar route, and see at the end of that we'll come back and do a little overview off the bikes on what we both thought about one another's bikes. In other words, what do we think of the 411 and the 450? Just to help you at that point where you're deciding whether you should buy the 450 or the 411 Himalayan. Right, here we go. We've just did a quick swap over. I'm on Paul's 450 now. Paul's behind me on the 411, but he's going to be leading again. This is not all about speed, it's about how the bikes handle and through the twisties, etc. So the first bit obviously is getting used to one another's bikes, and Paul seems pretty comfortable on my one straight away, I gotta say. A similar riding position. I don't feel much different in the riding position, but quite clearly the throttle is a lot more responsive, and that is because there's that much more power. I'm going to give it a bit of sec along this small section of dual carriageway. We'll see how we get up. I'm in 6-speed at the moment. I'm up to 70. Paul's doing bloody well to get that up to 70. I've got to say, there's a lot more vibration through the handlebars than there are on the 411. Obviously easy to get it up to 70, but still feel like you're revving it. Gearbox is very light. Can hard mind the 411 is a little bit more clunky. To have a smoother ride on this 450, you have to keep the revs up 3,000–4,000 RPM, which means you've got to keep it in a gear lower than what I'm used to. Otherwise it tends to not be happy and be a little bit jumpy. That's the first obvious thing that I'm having to see the difference in. Paul's just showing me there that he's very happy with his flat feet on the bike, and Paul being 5'8", I'm 6'1", and I'm flat foot on this bike, so he obviously is a lot more flat-footed on that bike than he is on this. But must be. I'll put the differences in the seat height on the screen for you to see. But that obviously, you can see it quite clearly, it's a lot lower than this one is. Which means, again, depends on the type of riding you intend to do with these bikes. That would obviously have a bit to do with the ground clearance as well. No, I don't say that's obviously, because it's not obvious. See, it's chugging a bit there because I wasn't in the right gear and I was in fourth coming over that hill. And the 411 would have been quite happy to do that. Okay, hi there guys, welcome back. We've been for our ride out. I rode Paul's bike, he rode mine. We've had a little sit down and a chat about what we felt about it. So we're just going to bring this to you just to let you see how we both felt about the differences between the two bikes. And they are vast, they are absolutely vast. It's not only about the engine size and the horsepower, it's about everything else. So I'm going to hand you over to Paul and let Paul tell you what he felt about riding the 411 as compared to the 450.
First off, it's lower. I can actually flat foot it both feet, so it feels light, and because it doesn't lean over so much on the stand, it feels easier to pick up off the stand when you're riding it. The seat feels lower. You feel more inside the bike, less so on the 450. The seating is absolutely fantastically comfortable. I don't know how much of it is down to your aero seat on there, but it feels like you could just sit there and watch television all day. you could just go all day without not get uncomfortable at all. And that also, your legs have to be in the right place to feel that. I found the rear brake is
lacking.
I quite like a bit of rear brake when I'm riding, so I noticed that. Again,
front brake?
Not quite as much, but perfectly adequate. It does the job. There's nothing to be scared of.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry.
But as comparison?
Not quite as powerful.
Not as meaty?
No. The levers feel a bit more old-fashioned when working the levers. But when you're riding the bike, you can't, although this isn't about the engine size, you can't ignore it. You have to get yourself in a different mindset to ride it.
Yes.
That is more you sit there and enjoy the view and ride round. If you're going to go uphill, expect it to take a little while.
So it's more about the scenery than actually getting.
You got to be prepared to be a bit more
relaxed.
Going at dual carriageways, motorways, and that. You'll only ever ride them if you have to on the 411. When you're in and around town, it's more than competent in a town setting. Very, very easy, very light.
Comfortable, easy to handle.
Everything, very confident in the town. Down your little B roads and that. Fantastic little machine for that. Because anything from 0 to 50, you do notice a little bit of difference.
You notice in the power delivery?
It's a bit lower down, so 3,000 revs, if you open the throttle on the 450, it will chug like a coffee machine just finishing. Whereas 2,500 revs, you can ride at 2.5 on there. When you open it up, it's nowhere near as thumping. So
some people describe it as a tractor. It's got that low down power band.
No, I've driven a tractor. It doesn't go round bends like a tractor does. So yeah, it's a nice. You're going to go round all the country roads and maybe green lanes or whatever, then I'd be perfectly happy riding. I prefer my 450 for the versatility.
It teaches you to relax in your riding, doesn't it? Because it
teaches you it teaches you patience.
Patience, yes.
Yeah, you have to have patience.
It's not going to get there quick, so you may as well just.
When we're going over Crowthorne Hill,
yes.
The first time round when I was riding mine, the car was there, I could pull out, accelerate past it going uphill.
No problem.
The second time round, the car that was in front of us was going a bit slower.
Yes.
I decided not to even try.
Not to even try.
You could feel it.
Absolutely. But you learn to adapt to that kind of riding, don't you?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It teaches you patience.
Yes, indeed. It teaches you patience. Yes. So that's great. Thanks, Paul. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little chat about Paul's 450. And just in my opinion, and again, this is our opinion, basically, it's what we felt about it, is my opinion on what I felt the differences between the 450 and the 411. So the first thing Paul suggested is brakes front and back. This I would call spongy compared to these are reactive. They really, they when you're touching that brake, because the back brake, more than adequate. The front brake, you could probably do a stoppie on it. It is really, really nice front brake on that. In terms of like Paul said, it's not about the engine size, but in terms of the riding style with the availability of that power, that if you've got to make that overtake, you don't have to think twice about it. Make sure you're in the right gear, indicate, look out, go. And it's a lot easier to ride from that point of view. So you don't have to relax back into the bike the same as you do on the 411. The 411, you're not going to make it, so you don't even attempt it. Having said that, though, when Paul and I left this airport and headed down the road, it's got a nice long straight down there, and Paul was on my bike, and he got it up to 70 in no time. So I don't know what he was doing compared to me, but I struggled to get it.
I allowed the ballast here to pull me down the hill.
I struggled to get it up to 70. I was on his bike, so I'd know what speed he was doing. He was cracking out 70 there with no problem. Anyway, so the differences on the 450 is the brakes, definitely. Like Paul says, you sit more into the 411. With the 450, you're on the bike. It's still a very, very nice, comfortable riding position. Saddle-wise, that is very, very comfortable as well. I think you could ride many, many hours on that saddle without struggling at all. The geometry of the bike, your knees are not crunched up and tucked away. Paul struggled to find my back brake on there, but I've got to say I struggled to find yours because that's just a matter of adjustment on the. So it's not to do with anything to do with the bike itself. It's just where you adjust the back brake so that it's right there under your foot when you need it. In terms of the handling of the bike, I think this 450 handles extremely well. It's what I call a point and shoot bike. When you're going into the corners, if you stay wide on the corner, it's not hard to do. It's a lot easier to do. It makes it so easy to ride because wherever you position that bike, it'll stay there. You don't have to accelerate to keep yourself in a steady position or anything like that. It's so easy to ride, so simple to ride. What else can I say about it? Oh, the gears, so smooth. They're not clunky at all. It's got a beautiful soft clutch on it. And I'm comparing that to mine. The 411 has a bit of a clunky gearbox going up and down the gears. The clutch on the 411 is good, but this one is so nice and soft, so nice and smooth. In terms of the switch gear itself, the switch gear is completely different on the 450 than it is on the old 411. In terms of where the indicator, Paul had to pull me up a couple of times there because I hadn't switched the indicator off. I thought I'd switched it off, but I couldn't feel it going off. So it's just a softer push on the indicator. To switch it on, I have to look down to see if it's on, and to switch it off, I think I've switched it off, but I obviously hadn't switched it off a couple of times. So it's, again, that's just getting used to the switchgear on here. The 450 obviously has a lot more tech involved in it. It's got a new TFT screen. It's great. It's got different rider modes on it, which that one obviously doesn't. This has got a switchable ABS. It has all those different rider modes. It's got adjustable shocks on it, the nice shower shocks, etc. You can feel that when you're riding. It's super smooth on the bumpy roads. It is an amazing machine. Really is an amazing machine. Anyway, all right, guys, so there we go. We just thought we'd bring you this little video as a comparison, basically, between the old 411 and the new 450. Thanks very much for joining us. If you like what we brought to you now, click that like button, hit the subscribe button, and push that bell so we can catch you on the next video. Thanks very much for joining us, guys. Talk to you soon. Cheers. Bye.